Hello, everybody, and welcome to another adventure in history. Here we are. It is another fun week of doing all of the things that we have to do as adults, or avoiding the things that we have to do as adults. I hope you all are having a great and wonderful week. It has been a bit of a mixed bag. I am in good spirits, and I'm very excited about talking about our material tonight. I've been a bit under the weather. I had a stomach bug for a couple of days that has, let's just say that it has really put a damper on my spirits. Boo for adulting, indeed. Sometimes the adulting is not everything that it's cracked up to be. But it is one of those things that we do because, I enjoy living in a house and eating food and things like that. So, how are you all? I hope everybody, like I said, is having a good one. I've got a bit of a stomach bug that has kept me up a little bit for the last couple of nights, so I haven't slept the best. And what sort of has been dominating my time for the last 3 weeks is still dominating my time, and that is the good old-fashioned sociology wrap-up report. I am basically doing the final research and project that I need to do to finish this master's, and I had hoped that I would be done with it this week. That is not going to be the case. I keep overachieving. I keep finding things that I can do that's a little bit extra, a little bit of a tweak here, a little bit of a so-and-so there. Stuff that I don't necessarily need to do, but I'm doing anyway. Of course, this is only adding more time to the project and adding more stress, but once an overachiever, always an overachiever, I guess. I can't really claim anything else. You would be doing Korea while you have a class to teach. Absolutely unbelievable. Alas, Figment, alas. But you know a lot more about Korea than I do because you're there. And just to be flat and open about this era in Korea during the second century, second current century, so we're in the positive numbers. We're going up. We're talking about stuff from about 100 to about 200. Be flat and open with the UK. Hey, UK, welcome. There is information about this period of time, but there is not a lot of stuff that we can conclusively say. We have some text resources from this period, but they were written by people a lot later, which of course means that we have to take them into a little bit of consideration when it comes to doing some source criticism. Also, there are not necessarily an overabundance of artifacts that come from this early period of Korea. So we're going to talk about them because we are able to tell the rough, broad strokes of what happened, but this is not going to be a majority of the stream on really cool Korean stuff. It's going to be probably at least 2 more phases. So the phase where Korea will probably really get super detailed to the point that we have lots of archaeological record, we have written records from Korea that are reliable. That's going to probably be in the 400s of our current era, AD, CE, whatever you want to call it. So there will be more cool Korea stuff, and it will be coming down the way. Tonight is a little bit of an oddity in that we aren't going to be looking at one area for the entire duration of the stream, and that's partially because of the gravity well of China. So if we look at the ancient world, China here... Ooh, my mouse is going kind of wonky. Come on now, mouse. Come here. There we go. I have an optical mouse, and I guess something got under there, and he was just going squirrely for a second there. Anyway, the the China region is going to be sort of a gravitational field, and because of China being what it was, being so big, being so powerful, being so culturally advanced, being so technologically advanced, this is going to have a bit of a bleed over effect. And this is something that we can still see happening today. If we look at dominant cultures, places where the United States has presence or has had presence in the past, start to look a little bit more like the United States, right? So that's what's happening culturally today. But in the ancient world, it's the same sort of thing, right? So China being big and powerful and organized and having a centralized government with a defined society and a written language and a big history is going to start having ripple effects to the cultures around it. Now, we've already talked about Korea a little bit before. We've also talked a few times about a group of people that lived right in here who are called the Chanyu. But that's going to start expanding a little bit more. We're going to start seeing Chinese influence get up into the northern Asia region. Now, it should be fair to note that once you get up to about here in Asia, there's not really a lot of people. This is what we would call today Siberia, and it is very sparsely populated all the way back through time. But this northern part of Asia right here, which is today part of China, part of Russia, the country of Mongolia, I can show you our borders. So if we look at modern borders, so here's Mongolia, here's Russia, this northern part of China right in here. This area is going to begin to have identifiable cultures, independent kingdoms, governments of their own. So we're going to be looking at sort of this northern Asian region tonight and look at 6 different groups, 3 of them Koreans, I guess technically 7 groups because 2 kingdoms of the Xiongnu, and then a new group that we're going to sort of introduce tonight into our cast of historical characters, a group called the Xianbei. So this is pretty interesting stuff. This is stuff that you're not really going to find in your typical world history class. This is not stuff that you are probably going to run into if you are just taking a high school history class. So I really enjoy talking about these groups of people because they are identifiable. They do have their own language. They do have their own physical culture. They have their own religious ideology. They have everything that makes an identifiable people group identifiable. And they're sort of unsung. You don't really hear a lot about them. And again, we've talked about the educational system being built around moving very rapidly and how people don't necessarily value history in the curriculum. But we won't beat that dead horse. We will just talk about these groups. So we're going to start off talking about Korea. And the Koreans at this time are going to be separated into 3 distinct kingdoms. And I do have to apologize. One of the reasons why I went on a little bit late tonight is that OBS has decided that it no longer wants to show my photos. It didn't upgrade. I have not changed anything on my computer. I have not upgraded Windows on my computer. I just turned OBS on today and it wouldn't load my images. So one of the things that I had to do right before we went on live was to sort of kit bash together a solution. So I hope this is going to work. Let's see if this is going to work. Oh, well, yep. Okay, cool. Here we go. So these are our 3 big kingdoms of Korea. Now you say, what is this thing? Well, let's look at these. So the biggest one here that we're looking at is Goguryeo. We're actually going to talk about that one last. We're going to talk about them in the from smallest to greatest. So the first one we're going to talk about is the one down here called the Shilla, and then the Pekja, and then the Goguryeo. And you go, well, what is this little group right here? So this area down in the very southern tip or south central part of Korea is at the time referred to as the Gaia Confederacy. And it was really just a group of several fairly sizable cities that all had independent rulers that occasionally would ally together in order for protection or to get some sort of mutual trade agreement going. So the Gaia Confederacy is not an independent kingdom. It's more of a cluster of moderately independent cities. So they are not typically included in the list of the three kingdoms of Korea during this time. It's the Shilla, the Pegcha, and the Goguryeo. So we are going to start again with the Shilla. So here, this little blue zone, and they are the smallest of the group, and they were one of the last ones to actually get completely organized into an independent kingdom. And this is going to put them at a bit of a disadvantage because the other two groups are going to be, the Pekja and the Goguryeo, are going to have more going for them. They're going to have a little bit more in the way of organization, centralization. They're going to have a higher population. They're going to have more cities. But the Shilla are going to be an up-and-coming group. And they end up, well, this is kind of a spoiler for several phases down the road, but they end up becoming one of the most powerful groups in the entire region and end up sort of taking over most of Korea, but that's, again, a bit down the road. We're going to start talking about one of their kings named Pasa. And Pasa ruled from 80 to 112. Let me make sure that's all squared up. Is that squared up? Nope, it's not squared up. Still getting used to this new layout scenario and figuring out how I need to handle that. It's getting better, and I love the way that it looks. So anyway, so yeah, Pasa is going to be one of the first. He's technically the fourth king of the Shilla, and he is going to be most responsible for sort of getting them into an expansionist mindset. He was going to be the king that starts to push the boundaries outside of just the territory around their capital city, and he is going to be interested especially in moving out to the south and to the south central. So the Shilla kingdom was originally just sort of pocketed right around in here, but Pasa really wants to bring all of this in, and he would really like to even encompass all of these Gaia Confederacy cities, and he would also like to move up north, and basically if he could find land he would be interested in taking it. But the specific area that is going to be really where he's aimed at is right around here on the border with the Gaia Confederacy. And there is going to be some fairly substantial movement in that period of time. But what he finds out pretty quickly is that if he moves his entire army down to the deepest part of the southern tip of the peninsula, this is going to expose his border with the Bekja. The larger of the two kingdoms, and he doesn't want to get consumed by the Pekja. He doesn't want them to, take advantage of him being away and sort of invade. So he's going to reach out to the Pekja and put together an alliance, and this happens in 105, and this is going to allow at least the illusion that things with the Pekja are all happy, and Pasa is going to be able to go down into the south to start conquering. Now, this is not going to be what happens forever. We all know that things change, and Pasa can't live forever, so his sons are going to take over, or sometimes. And one of the things about the Korean kingdoms that is a little still uncertain during this period of time is exactly how the throne gets passed. Is it to your brother, if you have a brother, so is it the oldest male relative in the family, or is it through primogeniture? Is it through primogeniture, or is it through generation? Do I pass the throne to my son? So there's a little bit of questionable who's actually who. And in some of these, especially these early kingdom stuff in Korea, we're not 100% certain if some of these people are younger brothers or sons. And that's fair, and we can say that because it's okay for history not to know everything. And I think that's one thing that we, as historians, need to work on. It's okay to say we don't understand. And there's not a lot of physical evidence left over from this period of time, and it's hard to exactly say sometimes who takes over. But what we do know is that another thing that happens during the specific period of time that we're talking about is that the Shilla kingdom over here is going to open contact with a group of people over here. Now, if we zoom out and you are familiar with your geography, you will know that this island chain is in fact Japan. Oh, we had a bot, and I didn't. Oh, I wanted to be famous. Alas. Anyway, so the Shilla Kingdom is going to open up conversations. Blow smoke from the mod pistols. Is that the first time you've ever been able to delete to somebody? I usually get to them first. I was being excited about pointing at Japan. Look, it's Japan. No, sorry. Look, it's Japan. Look at there. Look at there. It's Japan. Japan at this time period had begun to centralize, and there was a growing kingdom, especially here in the very southern part of the large island of Honshu, and the Koreans referred to it as the Kingdom of Wa. Yep. And in 123, there is going to be an ambassador from Shilla that gets over to the Kingdom of Wa, and the Japanese and the Koreans are going to begin trading at that point. Now, it's fair to say, and it's fair to remember, that a lot of the people that had lived inside of Japan were actually of Korean ancestry, going back several hundred years. One of the big migrations through Asia saw a fairly large amount of Korean people move over into the Japanese mainland. And in fact, this is what introduced wet rice agriculture and metallurgy into Japan. And this is actually something we'll talk about next week. So next week we're actually having our first official adventure in history stream talking about Neolithic Japan and getting them to the point during this period of time where they have their first kingdom. So that's fun stuff that we can look forward to next week. Hey, KP, welcome. Good to see you. So the Shilla open up conversations with the Japanese, and things are going fairly well for the majority of our period of time. So the 2nd century is in pretty good state for Shilla. They are establishing trade. They are expanding. Your sub ran out, and it's not letting you prime sub. I've had that problem myself. Sometimes it won't let you do it through the phone app. I've had that happen to me before. Sometimes it won't let me do it through the web portal. So like you log into Twitch. Sometimes I've had to actually run the actual Twitch program. So if you're at home, I don't know. To wall 4K. To wall. Hey, Techman. Oh, the orcs. I actually don't know very much about the Warhammer 40K mythology. I know that it is an expansive collection of historical documentation kind of stuff and a deep mythos. One of the things that people have asked is, when you get done doing Tolkien, would you do Warhammer? Now, I don't know anything about Warhammer. I would not be comfortable venturing forth to try to do some sort of history of Warhammer 40K storyline. So there is that. But Techman, I hope you're having a good one, and welcome, my friend. It's good to see you. So things were going pretty great until the latter part of the 160s. And during the latter part of the 160s, there's going to be a bit of a scuffle with an attempted assassination. One of the ministers of the Shilla court is going to try to assassinate the king. The plot is discovered before it is able to be sprung, and the minister flees to Pekja, the neighboring kingdom. And the Shilla king writes a letter to the king of Pekja saying, I would like for you to send that traitor back to me. And the Pekja refuse, and they say, no, we're not going to send this guy back to you. And this causes quite a bit of consternation between the Shilla and the Pekja. And for about the next 25-ish years, there's going to be sporadic fighting along the border between the Shilla and the Pekja. And this is usually not going to be in what we would consider open war, where we have big whole campaigns where the armies are, marching around for years at a time. Usually what this is going to be is sort of a tit-for-tat kind of blow where the Shilla will try to attack a particular location and maybe succeed in taking a border fortress or part of this mountain range. And then the Pekja will either counter and take that back or perhaps counter-invade in another location. So it's a lot more like sort of a very long chess match than it is a constant at each other's throats kind of on the war path sort of thing. And this is partially because there are larger threats to both kingdoms. And one of those threats to both kingdoms is the other kingdom, the Goguryeo. It's satire and absurd, but they love it and run with it. Fans know it as the Grim Dark, Warhammer 30k, 40k. Ghostface Shilla. Well, the Wu-Tang is not yet around, but I'm really trying to find a way to work in something like RZA or SZA. RZA or Jizza or ODB or any of the other bajillion members of the Wu-Tang Clan. Hey, Yavern, I got that reference. I'm with you. Wu-Tang is for the children. Anyway, so there we go. There's a bit of our check-in with the Shilla. Let us move on to the Pekja. If we go back to our... Oh, I missed. I forgot to share this with you. So one of the things that is really hard to do in this particular period of time is find images. You are really going to be hard-pressed to find statues of any of these rulers. So what I ended up doing was just finding some stuff that I thought would be neat to look at. So this is a diadem from the Shilla kingdom around this time. And I picked this on purpose because, number one, it's just really cool to look at. But it's also on purpose to designate, or to demonstrate rather, that these particular individual people had a lot of skilled craftsmen, right? So this is not just some backwater kingdom. This is an established culture that has, skilled artisans. They have cultural stratification. They have working economies, so on and so forth. But this is a pretty neat little piece here. So you can imagine a Shilla queen or perhaps a princess wearing this to some stately dinner or entertainment. Pretty neat little thing here. So there you go. All right. So now on to the Pekja, and I'll actually just roll back one so that we can remind ourselves where we are. Talking about the Pekja here on the screen. So we were just talking about the Shilla kingdom, and we're talking now about the larger and more substantial Pekja kingdom. So what's up with them? What are they going into? What are they doing? How's their life? What's their thing? What's their motivation? So they're going to be in a similar sort of situation. They have a stable kingdom. One of the longer rulers in this period is a guy named Giru. He rules from 77 to 128. So that's a 50-something year-long reign. That's very, very long for this particular period of time in history. And the weird thing about Giru is that we don't necessarily have a whole bunch of information about what he did, but the chronicled period of time that we have for his reign is just chock full of really bad stuff happening. And I mean, like, all sorts of really, really weird things. How close are those borders to the 38th parallel? That's a great question. So if we... Let me switch over here to show borders. And if we zoom in a bit, let me rearrange my windows. Rearranging the windows, looking off of the screen. Okay, so let's get this brought up. So here, the border here between North and South Korea is roughly along the 38th parallel, which is a line of latitude. And if we go down to our images and switch back over, we can... Oop, wrong one. Nope, that's actually the right one because I'm not doing it that way anymore. So the 38th parallel, if we go back... runs right about here. So this is fairly southerly. There would be a large part of what is today South Korea in the ancient kingdom of Goguryeo. And again, these borders do move fairly frequently. Goguryeo sometimes is dominant and is kicking everybody's rear end. Other times they're not as dominant because they're being invaded by other people, mainly like the Chanyu or the Shanbei or the Chinese. And Baekje and Shilla are able to move around a little bit more. About as far as the border got during the... The territory that the North held by the end of the war was really far down here to the south. So there's about as much of a chunk of what would have been in South Korea. I'm seeing this in my head, but I don't really know how to say it out loud. The North held a lot of this from about here up, which is why landing at Incheon was such a crazy idea. And this is talking about the Korean War, by the way. That happened after the end of World War II, which is frequently called the Forgotten War, which is also one of the closest periods of time that we've ever come to using the nuclear weapon after, of course, the nuclear weapon that we dropped in Japan. Or weapons, plural. So, inside of the reign of this guy Giru, we have all these really, really weird things. We have rock slides, but the number of boulders that are falling off of the mountain are numerically important. Like, this many boulders fell off of the mountain during his reign, and the number, of course, gets into numerology and what numbers are good or bad and yada yada yada. The omens are everywhere, right? But there do appear to be some actually pretty bad things, like there's some fairly bad earthquakes during his reign. There's a really bad drought. The drought apparently gets so bad that people in Baekje resort to cannibalism. There are a couple of recorded eclipses, which were all seen as sort of signs of the gods not particularly caring for this guy. So even though he had a long reign, doesn't necessarily mean that it was a good one, according to the people. World War II, Part 5. 8, so they are auspicious boulders, indeed. So during the rest of this period, so when Giru leaves, there are a couple of other kings that are going to have fairly long reigns, but the problem that Baekje is going to face during this second second century is problems along their borders. Problems along the borders with the north, because the Goguryeo were really, really powerful during this time. And the Baekje are going to be forced to fight off invasions from the north. And this whole situation that happens between them and the Shilla that starts in like 167 or so, where they basically refuse to give a traitor back to Shilla to be punished. And this starts a border fiasco that stretches for about 25 or so years with the Shilla. But again, one of the reasons why the Shilla Baekje war does not really conflate or conflagrate out to some big, gigantic military thing is that the threat of Goguryeo is significantly larger. So you can't wrap up your entire army fighting the little guy when the big dude is still breathing down your neck. Anything's a sign if you believe it hard enough. That's true. That is absolutely the truth. One neat thing about Baekje is that during this period of time, they start burying their kings in tumuli. So this is actually a place where you can go visit. And I believe that What a Figment, our friend here in the chat, has actually been to this location. And if you go to the Discord, you can see what I believe are other photos that What a Figment posted from this location. So yeah, you see these great mounds. These are burial mounds. They would have had a burial chamber inside with grave goods. Some of these are quite large. You can go inside many of them. And this, by the way, is just one of the fields. There are, I think, 3 different royal family burial fields that you can go see if you go hang out in Korea today. So I am always a big fan of the tumuli. I like the burial mounds because that, similar to any big grave, it just shows you that these people were able to organize manpower. They were able to, control the population for better or for worse. Not everybody that can control a population to build a tomb for yourself is a good dude or a good lady. So it is what it is. But when you start seeing things like that, you know that civilization in general is rising in this area because people are putting a lot of thought and effort into being remembered. Cultures that are constantly at fear of dying from starvation or the elements or whatever don't really have a lot of time to wonder about what people are going to think of them when they're dead. I'm not saying that they don't think about that, but you don't see a lot of fully nomadic people building elaborate burial complexes for their dead, right? So there you go. All right, moving along to the Goguryeo. And this is, again, the largest of the kingdoms. We can see that it is here, this big green chunk. This extends into what is modern-day China, but you can see that it does actually border China proper. So, of course, during this period of time, the Chinese kingdom that we are talking about bordering is the Han Dynasty. But if you were with us last week, you will know that the Han Dynasty during this period was actually going through a lot of trouble. There were a lot of dynastic issues. There were problems with powerful clans getting into the position of Dowager Empress and then playing havoc with the lines of succession. There was also a large faction of eunuchs that were in top military positions and top government positions that caused trouble when they wanted to get their way. So the focus of a lot of Chinese activity during this 2nd century is actually going to be internal. And we talked last week about how by the end of this period, China had actually shrunk rather significantly, losing probably somewhere close to 1/3 of its land to external forces. Han shot first. Yeah, he did. And I don't know why they edited that, but they did, and that's what we get. So the Goguryeo are going to, again, be the largest, and they are going to be in the driver's seat for the majority of this early period of Korean Three Kingdoms activity. McClunky. Let's talk about this guy named Taijode. Okay, so remember at the top of the discussion, I told you that we did have texts that talk about this period, but they came from a few hundred years later, and that we kind of have to take them a little bit with a grain of salt. We can sort of trust them for the big details because we have contextual proof and circumstantial evidence that will back up the documents. But the case here of Taijode is going to be one where we need to kind of raise an eyebrow. Because according to the ancient texts, he rules from the year 53 to the year 146. And you go, that's a long time. That is a long time. That is a ridiculously long time. It's 93 years. And you go, how in the devil does a human being rule for 93 years? Well, if you'll also remember me telling you, there were some problems with determining who actually got to take over in the kingdoms. Was it the brother? Was it the first son? Was it, yada, yada, yada. And Taijode is going to come to the throne in one of these scenarios. And according to the historical sources that we have, he came to the throne when he was 7. And then ruled until he was past the age of until he was basically right at 100, which is a rather remarkable thing to try to accomplish. And we can question this. That's okay. It's okay to go, did this guy literally live to be 100 and literally rule for 100 years? Well, skeptics do abound. There are people out there that say this is clearly a counting error, that he took over when he was maybe 17 or maybe even 27. But even that is generous. So let's say he took over when he was 17. That means he ruled for 83 years. So, I mean, at what point does it become believable? If we get it down to 53 years, is that believable? What if we got it down to 63 years? Is that, like, where's the border of it being okay before we start going like, no. So let's just, for the moment, because we don't have time to go into the minutia of how exactly people calculate his date. A fish diet does wonder for health and longevity. Yes, it's that fish heavy diet with the omega-3 fatty acids. That's really good for your brain. That helps you process. That's what's keeping him on his feet, keeping him wise and snappy, even at a snappy 100 years old after 93 years of reign. Maybe so. Maybe this is absolutely what happened. I don't know. There's not a lot of evidence to support this or to ultimately disprove this. But again, it's okay if you look at this and go, and your little skeptical eyebrow goes up. It's okay. So, who was this guy? What did he do? Let's just assume that the ruling dates are accurate, which I know might be a big assumption. We don't have to, but we can just pretend for the moment. What did he do? What was accomplished during his reign? Well, quite a bit, actually. And one of the things that is going to sort of play into this idea that he was this long-lived king was that he is credited with establishing the bureaucratic structure of the kingdom of Goguryeo. He was going to be the one that divided them into provinces. He was going to be the one that assigned governors and built provincial bureaucracies. And we all know how difficult it is to get anything done with a bureaucracy. Now, imagine if you were the one implementing the bureaucracy. I could see that taking 93 years to accomplish, right? You're just being Fad Mercial. I appreciate that, and it might be the fish diet. Fish is good for you if you eat it the right way. It's one of the staple crops. I'm sorry, not staple crops. Staple foodstuffs of the ancient world. When mammals, especially hominins, really started having that expanded brain case, one of the things that they needed was more rich proteins and omega-3 fatty acids, which is one of the reasons why we see later hominins fishing, because that's a good place to get it. And it figures out that it fuels you really nicely, especially if you're in hunter-gatherer mode and constantly worried about your stuff. So, all right. What's up with the rest of this stuff? So he builds this bureaucracy. He is going to several times actually attack into the Han Dynasty. This is mostly during the early 100s. And during that period of time, China was mostly, well, I don't want to say ignoring, but mostly incapable of defending that northern border. And so Tajude is going to get around some of this stuff and is going to actually be able to take some land from China. And this is going to lead him on a bit of a land grab. And especially if we're looking at the territory here, sort of this area out here that is further north and a little bit more to the west. So this region right here, which had fairly frequently been under the control of the Chinese, is going to actually fall under Goguryeo. So it's going to be a pretty good time for their kingdom. Now, they do have some internal troubles, and this is pretty common. When you have a king that lives a long time, even if he didn't live, 93 years of reign long, it's pretty clear that he had a sizable reign, and that's going to create problems in the wings, right? When you have a regent that lives, not a regent, a royal in power that lives for a really, really long time, it's pretty frequent that there are going to be trouble amongst the following generations of nobility, the people that are basically sitting around waiting to take over. And this is very much true for Korea. So there's going to be a king in a couple of kings later. There's a king named Chade, who is actually going to have some pretty significant issues. He waited for a long time to become king, and when he finally did become king, he had big chips on his shoulder, so he ended up killing his brother, and he killed all of his nephews, so his brother's children, so that he could become king. And as soon as he became king, there was a lot of trouble inside of the country with him trying to basically run things the way that he was wanting to run things, right? He had been waiting for his turn, and now it's his turn, so he's going to do things his way. And he ended up actually getting assassinated by one of his ministers because he was just a horrible king. So even though there are good things going for Goguryeo during this period of time, it's not all rainbows and sunshine. Hey, a Finesse, welcome. You want to call the puppy? Let me call the puppy. Here comes the puppy. Hello. Hey, come here. No, come over here. Come over here. Where? Yeah. Oh, you have the chicken. Come and see me. Oh, yes. Here's the puppy. And she has her chicken. Oh, hello, Katie. Hello. Oh, am I getting snuffled? What? Give me some sugars. Oh, thank you for the sugars. So generous with the sugars. Hello. Hello. You want your chicken? Want your chicken? You want to catch it? Here. Come down here. Good. Want to catch it? Let's catch it. Ready? Oh! Almost. You want to bring it back and try it again? Let me throw it again? Bring it here. Come here. Good girl. I'll try this again. All right, ready? Oh, there you go. That's a good catch. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. That's a good catch. Are you done now? Okay. Oh, that was the puppy. Oh, nobody shared the puppy emotes. The puppy comes on stream. The puppy gets the puppy emote. The puppy of war. There we are. Hey, you Finesse Fancy. How's it going? Hope you're having a good one. Good to see you. Oh, there's the Red Jar of Jam. Welcome, welcome, welcome. How's it going, Red? I'm surprised that you did not take my suggestion of having your Draw the Extinct character eating dog biscuits. Because you said that the theme was food that you didn't like to eat. So I'm going to interpret that based on these criteria, you might like dog biscuits. I'm just picking. I'm just picking. Hope you're having a good one, Red. I hope everything's going great in your world. You know, you gotta do a little bit of the ribbing. Yeah. You'll eat a dog biscuit before you eat an orange. But you love broccolis. There we go. I actually quite like broccoli myself. I am not so much a fan of cauliflower, and I know that they're essentially the same plant. But the texture of cauliflower is much more like so all of cauliflower is like the stem of broccoli. And I appreciate the little broccoli flower parts, you know, the little leafy, the little things that look like the little tree leaves. And I also like the little bit of a variation of taste that broccoli has over cauliflower. So broccoli wins way hands down by me. I like broccoli raw. Yeah, the little floret parts. There we go. I like those parts a lot. But if you steam it up or put it in something where it gets a little bit less crunchy, I'll totally eat even the stalk of the broccoli stuff. So I like broccoli. It's one of my things. There are some good human edible biscuits. I am aware that you can even cook some of these at your home. Hey, Nori, welcome. Good to see you. The interesting thing is how frequently these types of things were back then. Was it poor security measures, or was it the absence of accountability measures? I mean, if you think about it, you'd have to be pretty desperate to carry out murder. Well, in the case of Chade, the guy that got, murdered after murdering other people, it was sort of a, is he going to kill me next kind of thing, right? So if your back is up against the wall, are you going to kill or be killed? And to a certain group of people, they would rather kill the other guy than get killed themselves. So this is what happens. All right, so Goguryeo also has some trouble from the outside. The Han are going to continuously try to either take back land from the Goguryeo, or going to several times actually invade into Goguryeo territory. The Goguryeo are actually going to be able to block most of these invasions because I have a photo here. This is a photograph of some Goguryeo soldiers, and we see them here in their head-to-toe armor, but also their cavalry. which is a big part of their military effort, which is something that the Chinese had, but the Chinese army was much more built around the foot soldier model. So he was ruthless, bloody. Yes, indeed. So he killed his brother and his nephews to secure his own claim to the throne, and then the minister killed the existing king because that guy was just a giant jerk. So there we are. All right. So the Goguryeo have their own problems. They're going to come into contact with the other groups that we're going to talk about tonight, including the Xiongnu and the Xianbei. At one point, they're actually going to make an alliance with the Xianbei to try to invade China right around the 190s or so. It doesn't work out so great for either group, and they don't really have anything to show for it. It's sort of a fruitless effort. So we won't necessarily go into that too terribly much. But it is time for us to move on to our next group, and they are the Xiongnu. All right, so again, when we see the X, especially when we're talking about Chinese groups or names that are going to be derived from Chinese words, you say it with the SH sound. So this is Xiongnu, and they are a kingdom to themselves. We have talked about their formation back in the 300s BC under a guy named Modu Chanyu. You're back. What'd you miss? You missed all of Korea. We literally just got through with Korea, and I'm not joking. Yep. Now we're talking about the Xiongnu. And I can show you murder, betrayal, the usual, invasion, repulsion. Basically dating online. Lots of advances and not really much to show for it. I should say lots of unwanted advances. So if we're looking at the map here, one of the things that we want to look at is that there are two groups of the Xiongnu. So we see here the southern Xiongnu, but we also then see the northern Xiongnu. In Korea, online dating is full of ghosts. I don't even know what that means. Are there like people that will ghost you? Like that'll say hi and then never talk to you again? Take you out for a nice steak dinner and then never call you? Anyway. They're probably bots. And they're probably stealing all of your information. Anyway. We have the Han Dynasty. And if you'll see here, the southern Xiongnu Kingdom, or date you for a year and disappear. Figment, do you have first-hand experience? I won't pry into your dating life. We could talk about that off stream. Anyway, you can see here that there is a southern Xiongnu territory, but based on this map that we're looking at here, it is included in the Eastern Han Dynasty. And that is actually for a fairly decent reason. And this is going to be something that goes back to the first century Chinese leaders who were very crafty and capable and intelligent. Previous discussions that we've had about the Xiongnu, they were in a unified structure, right? So they were all one big kingdom. Well, around the latter part of the first century, a pretty brilliant tactical maneuver happened where the Emperor of China and some of the Chinese military leaders basically orchestrated a split in the Xiongnu kingdom, where some of them were going to basically declare themselves independent from the larger group, and they were going to then ally themselves with China. So the northern Xiongnu are mostly going to be anti-Chinese, and the southern Xiongnu are going to be very pro-Chinese. And part of this was by design, because the Xiongnu had been a constant threat to the northern border of China, going all the way back into the BC era. And the concept of breaking them in half and effectively using one group of them as a shield against the other group made a lot of sense to the Chinese Han Dynasty emperors of that time. Only with the talking and then being ghosted. You met one person who insisted he wanted more Western friends and he was from Canada and should have seen the red flag at that statement. What's wrong with Canada? And he called me a cultist 4 times and mocked you for the choices you make. Oh, wow. That's unfortunate. Yeah. Well, forget that dude. Yeah. I would not call you a cultist at all. Again, Figment and I are pretty good friends. We've known each other for years, so I'm not saying this just off the cuff. Haha! All right. So we have 2 kingdoms of the Xiongnu. We have the Northern Kingdom and the Southern Kingdom. So the North is still pretty hostile. But now, if the North Kingdom wants to attack China, they have to go through... Oh, there we go.
I'm Spartacus.
I'm Spartacus.
I'm Spartacus. I'm Spartacus. I'm Spartacus.
I am Spartacus. And now KP is Spartacus. KP, thank you so much for that sub, man. It does help. Every little bit does show up, and I greatly do appreciate that. I haven't done this for a while, but, you know, if you're hanging out and you've got Amazon Prime and you're not using your Prime subscription, follow that link below, and you can read the little blurb there where I explain what's up, and you can actually get a free sub. I'm pretty sure that most people hanging around here know that, but, you know, if you're not, you can use it for anybody. You don't have to use it for me. You can go follow somebody else and give them a free sub and support your local streamer. So there we go. Okie doke. So the Xiongnu have a little bit of trouble inside, and this is actually going to bring us to our title for the night, which is Chanyu, dig it, which is a great reference to a movie that I hope everybody has seen. I had actually been trying to figure out how to work a reference from that movie in, since somebody asked me a question about that movie a couple of streams ago, and I'm glad that I can fit that in. I'm Brittany's local streamer. Yeah, pretty much. Are you my local streamer? Well, I mean, I know people that stream. That speaking of your local streamer, Neo Realms, our friend from the coast of Mississippi, is actually closer to KP than I am. So your local streamer is Neo Realms, but you can use that Prime sub for whomever you would like. Hey, Neo Realms, you're Canadian, as long as you come out to play. The movie, by the way, is The Warriors, which is one of the greatest / most horrible movies ever. It's pop culture in its most pop culture-iest. Popcorny, goofy movie with a whole bunch of gangs wearing matching outfits and beating each other up. Play. Anyway, so there we are. Chanyu, by the way, is the title of a king of the Xiongnu. So if you are the king, you have the title Chanyu. Chanyu. So with lots of hair and acne. There is a lot of hair and acne. The PS2 game. There is a PlayStation 2 game for the Warriors. Oh my gosh, I did not know that was a real thing. Are we talking about a PlayStation 2 game based on the movie The Warriors? Holy moly. How did I not know this existed? Oh no. Now I'm going to have to fire up the old emulator. Wow. This is changing paradigms in my brain, and I'm very upset that I've never heard of this game before. I'm I'm going to have to go find that. I'm going to have to see if I can locate. No, I did not. I have never heard of that game before. Is it just called The Warriors? I'm going to have to Google this. Let me actually see if this will work. Hey, look at there. Come on. Oh, that is awesome. Oh, I actually can't do this. I'm not supposed to do that. Wow. Wow, that is... Oh, it's got a 4.9 out of 5 rating. Wow. Okay, yeah, that's going to happen. just for the sake of being... of regaining my nerd cred. It has a PS3 download. Is the PS3 store still even open, though? I thought Sony was shutting down the PS3 store. I can figure out how to play it. I still have a working PlayStation 2. So that's on the list. Only the PSP store is getting shut down now. Okay. Okay. Well, I have a PlayStation 3 as well. So we're going to have to we're going to have to see if we can make that work. All right. Okie dokie. Wait until you hear some of the absolutely horrific things they say to exotic girls. And bragging about... Oh, wow! Figment. Oh, wow. I'm learning about Korean culture that I did not know existed, but it's not necessarily the stuff that I would particularly like to know. But it's good to know anyway, because you got to know the whole picture, right? Anyway, so as I was saying, Chanyu. This is the title that you get if you're the king of the Xiongnu. So that's where Chanyu dig it comes from. Anyway, there's this issue. They're split. There's North and the South. And what's really going to be a problem is that the Northern Kingdom is going to grow more and more disassociated. The Southern Kingdom is going to get closer and closer to China, to the point that the Southern Kingdom of the Xiongnu is effectively part of China. Now, they still have their own government and they still get to pick their own leaders, but those leaders rely very heavily on the backing of the imperial clan from China, and they also are going to start relying a lot on the military of China, because a new group is showing up, and they are called the Shanbei. Now, we'll talk about them a little bit more in a bit, but one of the things that it's important to note, one of the reasons why the North is crumbling so much is because the northern Xiongnu and the sort of the larger Xiongnu government had made a lot of money and had made a lot of sort of had accumulated a lot of glory from raiding down into China, especially border zones where China was only lightly defended, doing big loot runs, carrying back lots of spoils, and then using that to sort of fuel their leadership roles. But when the North is effectively denied the ability to get to China because of this territorial split, the North is going to have a lot of trouble when it comes to leadership. They're not going to know who necessarily is in control, and to a certain extent, the Xiongnu are, especially the northern Xiongnu, are going to start reverting a lot more towards a sort of warlord-typed government where the strongest individual that is able to beat up the other ones and make them all fall in line is going to end up being Chanyu. Sometimes that is passed down through heredity, other times it's not so much. Hey, Moose, welcome, good to see you. So the opposite of today. Perhaps not. So one of the big things that's going to happen that is going to be sort of a make or break point for the North is the assassination of this guy named Yao Liu, who was one of their Chanyu. So his name was Yao Liu Chanyu, which I know everybody was going to love to say. But in 87, the Northern Xiongnu are going to go to war against this new group called the Xianbei. And I've said them several times. I may as well go ahead and type them here. Xianbei. We'll talk a lot more about who exactly the Xianbei are in just a little bit. They sort of have the wrap-up place of honor in tonight's discussion. But the Xiongnu are going to go to war with the Xianbei, and this is going to be pretty devastating for the Xiongnu. Their Chanyu, and this again is the northern Xiongnu. Their Chanyu, Yao Liu, is going to get captured at a big battle. The Xianbei are going to kill him, and then to make things sort of worse, not like they weren't bad already, but to make it worse, they flay his skin off and basically take his hide back to the Xianbei territory as a trophy. And the leader of the Xianbei sort of displays the skin of Yao Liu as a battle token. So you know things in the North are going pretty bad when your leader gets killed and skinned by the new guys. This isn't even the Xiongnu fighting China. This is them fighting another regional power called the Xianbei. So that's in 87. The war between the Xiongnu and the Xianbei is going to continue. By 93, the Xianbei are going to take a big chunk of the north, and by 155, the Xianbei utterly destroy the northern kingdom of the Xiongnu. So at that point, the only Xiongnu left in governmental power are the southern Xiongnu, but as we've already discussed, they're effectively provincial vassals of Han Dynasty China. So sometimes in the next 20 or 30 years, you're going to see the southern Xiongnu ally with the south. I'm sorry, the Xianbei ally with the southern Xiongnu. But sometimes the southern Xiongnu are going to ally with China. And the southern Xiongnu are in a weird position where they understand that they are now between two big powerhouse entities, and they can't really do too much about it. But one of the things that they keep relying on, again, is this friendship with the Chinese emperors, the flayed man. Flayed skin. Sounds like something that would just destroy my mental state to view. Well, look at this, and this will be cooler. So this little guy right here is a pretty neat little artifact. This is a bronze plate, and on it we have this inscription in Chinese that basically is kind of like a little badge. And the little badge says, the holder of this is the recognized Chanyu of the Xiongnu territory, and this person has the friendship of the emperors of China. So no, it's not a seal. This is about 2.5 or 3 inches per side. There's a pretzel, yeah. And, you know, this entitles the holder of this particular token to receive 1 free pretzel at the Chinese New Year celebration. So you bring your coupon in, and on the day of the Chinese celebration, you get your free pretzel. Yes! I want my freaking pretzel! So, you hope it's an Auntie Anne's. But we have these little artifacts because the Han Dynasty was basically falling apart itself, yet had to do something to try to make sure that the Southern Xiongnu stayed on their side, right? So we're going to give you membership badges. And if you're the Chanyu of our buddies, the Xiongnu are on our side. They're our friends. They're our allies against the bigger and meaner people on the other side of them. Let me send you something cool. Let me send you this little token of our affection and our friendship together. Is there an expiration date? Not that I'm aware of. But another thing that you see is China sending luxury goods to the Xiongnu. And the Xiongnu took those luxury goods and made stuff like this. This is a crown, and it has this piece right here, by the way, would have been woven. They didn't have plexiglass makers in the ancient world. This would have been the sort of the top that would sit on the very, very peak of your head. This would have gone around your forehead, and this stuff here in the middle would have been some sort of fabric or perhaps leather that is since degraded. The plexiglass is not part of the thing, is what I'm trying to get at. But sending gifts up to the Xiongnu was a way to make them feel important. So you send them gold, but this also means that the Xiongnu are going to have, again, skilled artisans. They're going to have a culture of their own. We can see here a bird motif sitting on top of some decorative plant work with a nice dragon rim that runs around your head. This is a great example of Xiongnu artistry. So these aren't just nobody people. They have their own culture. They have their own area. They're doing their thing. So there we go. But by the end of our 2nd century, the Xiongnu are in fairly bad shape. The north is absolutely gone and had been utterly taken over by the Xianbei, and the south was effectively only there because of the reliance that they had on the Han Dynasty. But they didn't really even like the Han Dynasty. Sometimes they fought with the Xianbei against the Han Dynasty. So it's not like they are just completely friendly. But it's what you got, right? Alrighty, so there we go with the Xiongnu. And let us just replace these guys right here with this. Boop-a-doo. And let's talk about the Xianbei. Alright, so this is the first time we have talked about the Xianbei. And we need to give the sort of who were they discussion. Well, so to begin with, who were they? Well, we can trace their origins back to a period of time in the 200s BC, or BCE, whatever you want to call it. Around 208, when Modu Chanyu, who was sort of the founder of the Xiongnu Empire, unified the empire, there was a big battle between the Xiongnu and a group of people called the Donghe, that is spelled Donghe. And the Donghe people were defeated, and they broke into little splinter groups. And one of those splinter groups was the Xianbei. And there's another group that sometimes gets included with these groups that are called the Wuhuan. Now, please note, this is not Wuhan. Wuhan is a region of southern China and later a kingdom of China. The Wuhuan are a different group of people altogether. Not the same group, so don't get these people confused. But anyway, the Xianbei come from this sort of fracturing of the Donghe people about 208, and the Wu-Tang. We've already covered the Wu-Tang clan. We talked about the Wu-Tang earlier. We actually did talk about Wu-Tang clan quite a bit earlier. So they come from this group of people. They were nomadic, and they were what we would call steppe peoples. And sometimes you refer to them, or you might hear them referred to as the horse peoples. This does not mean that they are centaurs, like half horse, half person, but people that have a lot of reliance on horses. People that are horseback nomads, that herd horses, that eat horses, that drink mare's milk. They're all just really big on the horse groups. Were they all masters of hip? No, they weren't. I don't know of anybody that that knew how to spin the brakes. Okay, doke. So when it comes to their language, this is actually going to be one of the areas where people in the modern historical world have a lot of arguing, like what language the Xianbei speak. We have some words from it. We don't have an overwhelmingly large amount of it because they didn't have, during this period of time, by the way, they did not have their own written language. So, of course, that leads us to debate quite a bit. Now, some people are going to say that their language was Turkish, and they're going to base that on the idea that because this group came from sort of the steppe region, that they are related to basically all of the other steppe peoples. You know, basically like everybody that lived on the steppe was one group of people, and they all spoke the same language. I don't know if we can say that. I don't know if that's a fair assertion. I should show you the map for the Xianbei. Now, this is from a little bit later. I was unable to find an early map of them. But what we can see here, this would have been probably around the 170 AD mark, where we see some expansion out here to the west. But we do see that the Xiongnu Kingdom of the North had been completely overrun. The Xiongnu are going to basically be chased out. We do see that the southern Xiongnu are still hanging on, but that they are still more or less associated down here with China, but that the Xianbei had taken all of this territory here. And here we do see our three kingdoms, our Baekje, our Xie, and our Goguryeo, kingdoms of Korea over here. But this is a big chunk of territory that the Xianbei would have had at that time. So they are a pretty powerful group. You're hoping for centaurs? You'll have to settle for weird horse milk drinkers. I mean, what's the difference between drinking horse milk and cow milk? The only difference between drinking horse milk and cow milk is cultural. Because we in the West have been told that you're not supposed to drink anything except for our cow milk. Like, cow milk is milk, right? When you say milk, you don't have to refer to it as cow milk. But that's not the way the rest of the world goes. What about sheep milk or goat milk? We also drink goat milk. We do, but, you know, when you say goat milk, you have to qualify goat milk, and then people go like, I'm not drinking goat milk. Or when you say, oh, you know, I'm eating goat cheese, people are like, or people are like, oh, look at the culture. Like, oh, you're eating goat cheese. You don't drink goat milk, but you eat goat milk cheese. There we go. Well, I mean, we as a species weren't originally supposed to drink cow's milk. Well, to a certain extent, yeah, we were supposed to stop drinking milk when we got weaned, and that was the end of it. But then we were like, hey, there's got a lot of protein up in here, and we can use this stuff to build cool things in our diet, like cheese and, like, you know, ice cream. We got to develop a tolerance for it. Hey, Grathor, good to see you, my friend. Welcome, welcome. Supposed isn't really a good word. We aren't designed to drink milk. But here's the cool thing about it, and this is a little bit of a fast forward, but because this has come up, it's actually worth talking about here. One of the reasons why these steppe peoples, especially the Xianbei and the later successors of the Xianbei, who are called the Mongols, are going to be so successful is that they have the lactose breaking down enzyme. Like, they're genetically predisposed towards breaking down milk. And here's the thing about it. That means as they are traveling, they can live off of the horses that they are riding. Right? So they don't have to have as much stuff to drag around behind them, because they can just hop off, go to camp, let their horses rest for a few days, drink a whole bunch of milk, load back up, make a whole bunch of cheese for the road, and set off on, the warpath. So what's interesting is that when these people go to fight the Chinese are going to be at a disadvantage, because the Chinese, first off, again, are much more based around the large formation of foot soldiers, but because they couldn't do the milk thing, they had to have giant carts full of food that they had to drag around. And because the Xianbei and the Xiongnu and the later Mongolian tribal people don't have to do that, that gives them a tactical advantage. Everybody wonders sometimes, well, I hear people frequently in history class go, how did the Mongolian people take over China when China was such a humongously powerful thing? Well, it's like, well, China was at a disadvantage. Number one, it had a whole bunch of territory that it had to protect, and the Mongolians were super mobile because they're living on their horses. But number two, the Mongolians don't have to drag around giant trains full of food. They can drink milk and eat cheese. There we go. So I know that had nothing to do with the larger discussion that we were bringing in, but hey, the lactose intolerance thing is actually something that has an impact on history. What if our cars are also self-serve machines? Oh man, good times. Forget about ice cream trucks. Oh man. Is that a normal car for people to drive? Yeah, dude, you just drive around the ice cream truck and you turn the sound on and just go with it. So, who drank horse blood mixed with milk? Or is that really true? Yeah, that's really true. They did that. Now, you had to be really careful while you're doing that. But yeah, they did that. Because again, it's on-the-go food. You can fuel yourself without having to get out of the saddle. It's a thing. So, all right, more about the Xianbei. Nope, I hit the wrong button and I'm doing things that I don't want to do. Anything is normal if you do it enough. Anything is normal if everybody accepts it, right? The theater SUV. So if car designers are listening to the stream tonight, we've understood that the way to people's hearts is to make your vehicle a mobile food producer. So there we go. Is a tank a normal car? Asking for a friend. If you are, if you're in Joseph Stalin's army and you're stationed in Eastern Europe, yeah, you just drive around a tank. Want to get around and have meals on the go? A brand new Mongolian horse, now for just $5,999. It's what wins wars. Oh, man. You know a guy with a lawnmower that has tank treads. Well, there we go. Yeah, we talked about that. All right, so we were actually talking about the Xianbei language. Some people say Turkic. Some people say that it's Mongolian. Other people say it's a mix of those two. I don't really have a conclusive opinion on what this Xianbei language was. It's likely a little bit of mix of a lot of different things, which is probably true in most cases when we come to linguistics. People that will die on the hill of this language is purely its own really don't have too many hills to die on. Like the Basque language, and that's about it, right? Everything else is pretty much been influenced by some other person's language. Anyway, so let's talk about these people getting themselves together. So, isn't Finnish also one? I think that there is part of the Finnish community that's really, really far up in the north of Finland. And I want to say Laplanders, but I don't think that's the right word for it. I think that there's a specific word for the ethnic group of people up in northern Finland that have their own really unique language, but I cannot remember the name for it. And I apologize to our friends from Finland. I should probably know that, and I don't. The Sami, there we go. Thank you, yes. It has the funny little thing on the top. Yeah. Thank you, Grathar. Glad you were here to help us out. Grathar from the region. I won't say where Grathar is from, but from the region and of that area in the world. So I won't dox you out, but you're about 1/8 Sami yourself. Oh, nice! I did not know that. Do you know any of the language? Do you have any of the do you know any of the any words that would come from that language that are not related to other very, very, very little? Well, that's cool. Well, okay, so I'm going to go on a little bit of a thing. I really love Twitch because of this stuff, man. Like we get to hang out with people that are from all over the world, that have different points of view, that have different perspectives, that have different histories, that have different cultures, and we can learn from each other, right? It's not just me sitting here doing this, right? And me running my mouth at the camera. This is just as much being part of a global community of people that are interested in learning, that are open to exploring other people's points of view, that are interested in other people's histories and cultures. That is so amazing. And I really feel sometimes that we in the modern world don't understand how amazing that is, right? There are very, very few periods in history where you have true peaceful multiculturalism in history. It doesn't happen very much. And we are living in an era where that is more capable and more possible than it has ever been. And we need to remember that. And before I get all feely, I'll just remind everybody of the official fortune. We all have a lot more in common than it seems. And it came out of a fortune cookie, so you have to believe it. You're an Australian whose family is of Irish and Scottish descent, so you're the whitest bread around. Ah, finesse. I am Scandinavian and Irish myself, so I don't want to start in a competition, but I can say that when it comes to being out in the sun, I bet I know how you feel. I sunburn in the shade, and I'm not joking. That's actually happened. So who is this guy? Or what is this word? I just typed this random word into the blank here. This guy down below us, his name is... anyway, when you see the Q by itself, you pronounce it like a CH. So this is actually Chijijian, or put it together, Chijijian. So he is one of the first leaders of the Xianbei that we know by name. And he was a leader in the late 1st century. He was the guy that was responsible for skinning Yao Liu in 87. So this guy was one of the dudes that was really, really responsible for putting the Xianbei together as a sort of pre-organized group. And it's going to be one of his successors that is going to be the first guy that really sort of puts it into actualization. I can't. I'm trying to talk in my brain and type at the same time, and I just can't do it. Tan Shihui. This guy. Tan Shihui is probably the most important early ruler of the Xianbei. He is the guy that is going to really put them on the map footprint-wise. He is going to really expand their empire. He is going to be the one that finally destroys the northern Xiongnu kingdom in 155. He is going to further expand their borders out to the west and to the south. And now, some people want to say that he extended his border over here into this region and got all the way to the Caspian Sea. Now, I have a big problem with that assertion because there's a big empire sitting right here at that time called the Kushan Empire that the Xianbei certainly did not defeat. So I have a big argument against this whole idea that Tan Shihui managed to conquer everything all the way over here to the Caspian. I think that is just wrong. And you don't see me wearing the opinion hat right now, so I am speaking conclusively and with factual data to back me up. Anyway, so another thing that Tan Shihui is responsible for is breaking up the territory into provinces. And he's going to have this big chunk of Xianbei territory and decides that it needs to be split up into 3 sort of divisions, and that those divisions need to be further subdivided into clans. And this starts what's called the Xianbei Confederacy. And for a while, these 3 states are going to work in conjunction with each other. By the time we get to the late 2nd century, they had effectively broken up into 3 independent kingdoms. Now, they still acted in unison quite frequently. If there was going to be a big raid against China, or if one of the other states that wasn't Xianbei was having some trouble with regional powers, they did very frequently act in friendship. But as time goes on, that's going to degrade a little bit, and you're going to see those 3 divisions of the Xianbei acting a little bit more unilaterally, especially when it comes to periods of time where the government of China is going to get a lot more centralized and strong. But there's going to be a period for about the next 200 years in Chinese history where China is basically falling apart, and that is going to give the empire of the Xianbei, or the Xianbei Confederacy, a lot of room to expand because they're not going to have any big enemies. And to give a point in this particular argument, in 177, the Chinese are going to ally with the southern Xiongnu in an attempt to invade Xianbei territory, and the Xianbei just flat shut them down. It's not even a real fight. The Chinese just lose out of pocket. And this is really going to be the point where the Xianbei are going to make themselves known and establish themselves as a regional power. And we will talk about the Xianbei a lot more going forward in our adventures in history. Tan Shihui, pretty cool dude, unless you are from the Xiongnu. Then he's kind of like your nightmare. All right, so that is the end of what I had prepared for tonight. Now, I do have a couple of photos that I want to show before we completely wrap up. One is this pretty cool thing right here. So this is a headdress. This is a Xianbei headdress, and we see here that we have our nice little horse head, because again, these are horse peoples. This would have sort of laid over the top of your head and been kind of a neat little hairnet kind of thing. But pretty neat. I wanted to show you that, again, these are people. They have craftsmen, they have skills, all that cool stuff. We have gem cutters, we have goldsmiths, lots of cool things. Also wanted to show you the photo here. This is a Xianbei soldier on horseback. Note that we have a recurve bow. This is going to be one of the big things that the Xianbei are going to use to really devastating effect. Recurve bows are shorter. Note, this is not a long bow. You see him riding on the back of a horse. One of the reasons the bow needs to be shorter is so that you can move to either side of your horse's head and still get off a good shot. You also see him on a saddle, which is important because, again, these people are horseback fighters. But it's as, if not more powerful as a longbow. Yes, and I thank you for bringing me back around to that, KP. The fact that this is a recurve bow means that it's shorter in height. So the bow itself might only be 2.5, maybe 3 feet tall. However, it is substantially more powerful because of the design of the bow itself. The torque on that string, or I guess it should be tension, sorry. The tension on that string is significantly higher than a regular standard longbow. And this means that the arrow is coming off of the notch with a substantially higher velocity, which means that you can shoot further and also with more impact. So they had started doing some composite stuff, but a lot of this was lacquered. It wasn't completely composited yet. I mean, I guess you can say lacquered bows are composite in nature, but I think what you're referring to with the actual layered stuff with insets of bone is a little bit later, but they are definitely moving towards that. These would have probably been like maybe wrapped together, but mostly one larger piece of wood. Are they lighter to draw? No, see, that's the thing. Their draw is actually a lot more heavy. Longbows are going to be easier to draw and especially easier to hold. But the recurve is going to give you a lot more arrow velocity, a lot more impact, and a lot more distance. They're easier to maneuver, and that's the important thing. And here we see some little figurines of Xianbei horsemen, and I thought that this was just a cool figure or picture to show up at the end. These horses are actually wearing rudimentary horse armor, which would have probably been tanned, hardened leather skins that went over their top to help deflect incoming arrows or spears or stuff like that. This also goes into their saddle making, which is going to be a pretty important innovation that allows you to travel for long distances without getting really bad sores on you. So Xianbei, pretty cool people. Again, we will talk about them a lot more as we go. All right, now I am officially done with my portion. And if anybody has questions or wants to comment on stuff, or if anybody wants to redeem any channel points or anything like that, now would be a great time to do so. The 4 horsemen, and one of them rode a white horse. Yeah. I know probably more than I should about the horsemen. I did a lot of research on them for a project, a writing project that I did back, wow, a long time ago now. It's a comic book that I was trying to get printed. Anyway, questions, comments? How's everybody doing? Everybody doing okay? Otherwise, I can start sort of looking for a location for us to raid. Let's see who's around. 4 horsemen. 4 in Chinese, Japanese sounds like death. Yeah, so shit. one of my computers is actually named Shi. Is the fourth computer that I built. So I tend to name my computers after either realms of the underworld or gods of the underworld. Like, so I have Shi, and I have Ereshkigal, and I have Osiris. So, okay. Anyway, I'm a giant nerd. That's what I'm trying to get at. I'm a giant nerd. A lot of Korean elevators don't have the number 4. They skip it or just use the letter blank instead. Your German Shepherd puppy is named Nix. There we go. Cool stuff. Yeah, I enjoy that. It's just weird, and I actually got the habit from one of my colleagues, one of my teachers who is now a colleague, a guy named Dan Browning, who is one of my sort of heroes of history. One of your hard drives is named Shi. All right, let me see where we're going to go raid. Yes, not Dan Brown, Dan Browning, as a professor that taught me and is now one of my very close friends. Let's go raid somebody that we've never raided before. Moose, you keep asking this as if I just look for good news. I don't look for good news. It's your birthday. Oh, happy birthday, Moose. Happy birthday, man. It's your birthday. Only good news. I don't know. Well, I don't know. Only good news. The Pope is recovering after having diverticulitis surgery. So, good for the Pope. There's a leak that came out earlier today where the current leadership of Israel made a secret trip over to Jordan to meet with the Jordanian king. So the Hashemite king, King Abdullah, met with the Israeli prime minister apparently today. And I hope that's good news. I hope that means that there's going to be more stability in the region. And I think it's sort of unfortunate that it had to be done secretly. Let's see. The United States is pulling out of Afghanistan. I know some people would consider that really good news. Someone set the ocean on fire? Oh, that's not really good news, though. Yeah, so there's an oil pipeline in the Gulf of Mexico that ruptured and caught on fire, and it's actually burning under the water. But that's not good news, so we're not going to talk about that. Apple cider donut Oreos were announced. Well, there you go. There you go. Yeah, I think I'm probably about out of good news. Yeah, that's probably about all I can scrape at the moment. I used to think you liked carrot cake, but it turns out you like spice cake, which is carrot cake without the carrots and raisins. Pretty much, yes. Also, caramel brownie Oreos. You're coming home at the end of next month? There we go. 31st of August. Nice. I mean, I guess I could look at the... I could actually go look up news. Let me see. This is the part of the stream where Shane goes to Google to try to find good news. This is harder than I thought it was. China is taking steps to return some elephants to a nature preserve so that they don't get killed. There's good news. Iceland is apparently testing a 4-day work week nationwide, or in a lot of their big cities and companies, and said that it actually led to people being more efficient. So there's great news. Maybe 4-day work week will become the new norm. That's great news. I'd actually quite love that. All right, so I think that's gonna. Yeah, I know. I know, KP. I know. I know. All aboard for the 4-day work week. I am down with the 4-day work week. Let me go to Twitch here. I'm going to search by the educational tag, and I'm going to see if there's actually anything educational going on here. And then we might go hang out in an educational show. And the problem with people using the educational tag is that a lot of people that use the educational tag aren't actually being educational. As is evident by some of the stuff that I'm seeing here as I search. Cave is educational? Hey, sci-fi, welcome. Yeah, I'm not seeing anything that I see that is actually what I would consider educational. I see some stuff that might be educational about human anatomy, but I don't think we need to go stream or. I should have had this going earlier, and I apologize. Let me try history. Let's see what history tag will bring us. Why is some of this stuff in educational? I don't know. I don't know. Let's look for history. Overwatch. Tagged history. I did not know Overwatch was history. Hey, look, there's me. Someone playing the Master Chief Collection. I guess that's kind of historic. Okay, so I found somebody. Let's they say that they stream gaming and politics, and they're talking about.
So some things that seem like CRT but are not CRT. The number one big one, 1619 project. Right? Now, this 1619 project is using an element of critical race theory, which is
Oh, they're talking about critical race theory. Yes, we are going to go raid them. This is to whom we are going to raid. Okay, so fair warning, ladies and gents, I have no idea what we are getting ourselves into. So we are about to venture into the unknown, but I think that, you know what, part of what makes adventures in history adventurous is that we occasionally go do adventures. So we are going to go raid a channel called Fabian Liberty. I do not know a thing about these people. I do not endorse these people. I do not know anything about these people. So we might be walking into a firestorm. We might be walking into a friendly group. You don't have to say anything. Hang around for the raid. A few things to announce. Number one, before I go, I do want to give everybody the opportunity. If you click below you, down by the adventure points, you will see that I have added a couple of goals. Goal number one is a new History of Middle Earth group goal. So if you want to donate points towards towards having a History of Middle Earth stream prior to our actually scheduled History of Middle Earth stream, you can donate towards that. There's also a community goal for what I've called We Didn't Start the Fire. So if you've ever heard the Billy Joel song, We Didn't Start the Fire, that stream is something that Cave actually came up with, and then Emmy and Tuna and a lot of other people got really excited about, where we're going to go through the lyrics of We Didn't Start the Fire. And I'm just going to read a lyric, and then we'll give a little bit of a blurb about who was going on or what was going on and sort of where that thing was and what it means. So we didn't start the fire. So if you want to check those, you should be able to see those down in the community goals area. Our next stream is going to be this coming Tuesday, where we are going to talk about the Manhattan Project, which is something that is a viewer request episode. So we will talk about Manhattan Project on Tuesday, and then next Thursday we're going to have our first actual in chronology Japan stream. Now I know that everybody likes Japanese history, and we've done multiple Japanese history streams from viewer request angles, but this is our first in chronology Japan stream. You don't see them yet. Let me just double check and make sure that I added them to the right place. I thought that I added them. Maybe I did not turn them on. Creator dashboard. Viewer rewards, channel points. Nope, you don't see them. Okay, well. Oh, I have to actually click start. There we go. Haberdashery, yes. The Manhattan Project, a stream about fine military for history of hats. That would be really, really difficult because that's way too big. I would need you to, I would need to narrow that down. Okay, so there we go. I have made both of the challenges live. You may donate to whichever or both of those as you would see fit. I'll give everybody a couple of minutes here to donate towards those goals if you so desire. There is a limit on how much you can donate per stream, so donate early and donate often. Were you just going to buy one outright, KP? And don't worry about it showing a 30-day limit if they don't actually meet in 30 days we will extend the deadline on those. You could get us 1/3 of the way without sweating. Yeah, that encourages people to come back and hang out more, right? If you want to see that, you got to come back and at least hang around for a little bit and throw some points towards the donation, right? So, we didn't start the fire. And I know that some people are holding on to points because you want to do viewer request streams, and I completely understand that. Nobody should feel as if they are being encouraged or being manipulated into giving towards the community goal. You are welcome to use your adventure points however you like within the boundaries. You can save up to get some viewer request stream stuff. You can just summon the puppy 19,000 times. You can do whatever you want to with your points. They are your points as rewards for you for hanging out and chilling in the stream. Hey, Foggage, welcome. How do you put points towards those? So you should be able to click on the adventure or the little adventure hat icon beside your adventure points, and at the top of those you should have an option to click on either of the streams or both of the streams. And when you click on that, it should give you an option to donate based on however much you would like to put towards it. You shall save your request for the history of cats. We would have to narrow that down a little bit. Because the history of cats, again, is as long as the history of humanity. And longer, technically, because, they were around before humans were. So we would need to work on the scope of that one. Maybe the history of cats in certain ancient cultures or before certain periods of time, or the domestication of cats up until a certain point in time. History of Cats the musical? Ooh. Cats ruining historical art building. Cats and Hats combo stream. Oh, Meg with the baboosh. They at least do not have written history, so you can skip some parts. That's true. Gotta be a subscriber or a computer? No, you do not have to be a subscriber. You should be able to donate even if you were just a person hanging out in the room. You don't see the options to throw points at it. Foggage, are you using the mobile app, or are you using a browser window? Mobile, yep. I do not know how that works on mobile. I have never tried to donate to a community goal. It should be the same way that you redeem stream stream rewards. You might have to scroll a little bit. Phone Twitch is limited in that. Oh! Okay, well, there's Meg saying that you can see it. The Life and Times of Grumpy Cat. That would be a short and unfortunately sad stream. I'm running out of water. All right, we'll give everybody just maybe another minute or so to try to figure this stuff out. You're out, KP. All right, man. Good to see you. Have a good one. Take it easy. You are 70% water. Don't be silly. My cup is empty. We're just doing it now? We have plenty of time, don't we? Okay, so when Morgoth got across the waters, he got over there and started arguing with Shelob about what to do with the Silmarils. I'm just joking. We're not actually going to do History of Middle-earth right now. I could, but I'm not gonna. You have a kitty training water. But the fundraiser isn't. No. The fundraiser will continue going on until the goal is met. So you can contribute to that tonight, or the next time I stream, or any of the next times that I stream. So basically, you can contribute to it now, and you can contribute it again next time, and next time, and the next time, and you can do 10 points now, and 100,000 points next time, or 2,000 points then, or yada yada yada. Anytime I am streaming, you can donate. The history of the internet's obsession with cats. I don't know if I could do that or not, because it would just be a whole bunch of cat pictures, and it would include itself. It would be like Streamception. At the end of the stream would have to be me talking about me streaming, but then the history would continue as long as I streamed. Hey, there we go. And that's bad, Hal. Because if you want to look at photos of cats, anybody can look at photos of cats whenever you want to. The cup is full of air. The space between the air molecules is full of virtual particles popping in and out. It goes on and on and on. Yes. In the string theory of things, eventually we just all get down to vibrations, right? You would just keep that one in the background. All right, cool beans. Thanks, Foggage. All right, ladies and gents, we're going to go raid. And again, we're going to go raid Fabian Liberty. Once again, I don't know who these people are. I don't know anything about these people. I'm not endorsing who these people are. I will ask you to hang around and just at least do the raid call. I'll probably hang around a little bit more and talk. I pulled these people out of the Twitch stream verse. I don't know who they are. I don't know what we're walking into. But our battle cry is adventure with a lot of exclamation points. And if you have those oh so sweet adventure hat emotes, you can throw those in the chat as well. Thank you all so much for hanging out. I had a great time. I hope everybody got a little bit of information about some people that you might not have known very much about before. And let's go do a raid. And I will see everybody again definitely on Tuesday. There's a chance that I might do some Gundam stuff over the weekend. But definitely on Tuesday, 1900 Central Standard Time. Everybody take it easy. Have a good one. And have a great weekend.